Hi everyone, welcome back to Islam Unboxed. Today, I will be talking about Idul Adha. Idul Adha is a celebration that is being celebrated now, this week. Muslims are celebrating Idul Adha from Monday evening to Friday evening. Idul Adha is a remembrance of the devotion of Abraham, who was willing to sacrifice his son. Muhammad tried to portray Islam as an Abrahamic religion. As a matter of fact, they built what is called the Station of Abraham near Kaaba. It is basically what they believe to be the burial place of Abraham. Islam claims that Islam is the religion of Abraham. Yes, Islam claims all prophets were Muslims, but Abraham in Islam played a very important role. Many things in Islam are done based on Abraham. For example, Tawhid, or belief in one God, circumcision, and Muslims also believe they they follow everything that Abraham did, including bowing down towards Kaaba and circumambulate the Kaaba. But is it true that Muhammad and Muslims actually believe what Abraham believed? The answer is, of course, not. Let me show you this from this in front of you on the screen. This the station of Abraham or Makam Ibrahim, the burial place of Abraham. This is in front of Kaaba in Makkah. Right? Do you see what is on top of the cage? What is it looks like a cage. So I will enlarge. You see this on top of the on the very top, a crescent moon, right? Now I will show you a couple of other pictures. Mosque, the picture of a mosque. A couple of pictures. You see the crescent moon and star. Another picture. I will enlarge. See? Now, we can see the crescent moon and star on top of many mosques all over the world. Now, I want to show you from Quran something. Let us read Quran. This is from Surah Al-An'am, chapter 74 to 78. I will read from Abdul Halim. Remember when Abraham said to his father, Azar, how can you take idols as gods? I see that you and your people have clearly gone astray. In this way, we showed Abraham mighty dominion over heavens and earth, so that he might be a firm believer. When the night grew dark over him, he saw a star and said, This is my Lord. But when it set, he said, I do not like things that set. And when he saw the moon rising, he said, This is my Lord. But when it too set, he said, If my Lord does not guide me, I shall be one of those who go astray. Then he saw the sun rising and cried, This is my Lord, this is greater. But when the sun set, he said, My people, I disown all that you worship beside God. All right. So that's the reading from Quran. So he saw the star, and then the star is gone. So he said, Oh, this is not my Lord. And he saw the moon. The moon also same thing. The sun, same thing. Well, the sun is actually basically a star, right? But doesn't matter. So now, what he Abraham know those objects in the sky cannot be worshipped. But what Muslims do is put those objects from the sky on top of their mosque. as you can see. Even, of course, I do not believe Abraham was buried, buried in this place, but Muslims do believe, right? Even in his, on his makam, on his, you know, where he's buried, and then they put crescent moon. The thing he refused to worship. Well, not refused to worship, but because they said they come and go. So he doesn't worship. He doesn't want to. He didn't want to worship what's said, right? So this is like the opposite of what Abraham believed. This is crazy, right? Now, now if we see Kaaba and Blackstone, right? Like Christians, Muslims also believe that Abraham was called friend of God or friend of Allah. You see, let me go back to Surah Al-An'am, verse 74. Remember when Abraham said to his father Azar, how can you take idols as gods? So now we go back to Makkah, and you and people bowing down to Kaaba. It is, you know, I don't understand why Muslims believe that he built Kaaba to bow down to after refusing to worship statues. The father have so many statues. The father worshiped many gods. He refused to bow down to those gods. And now Muslims believe that he built a cube, a square house, and then bow down towards that house. The house that he made by his own two hands. This is like, what is this? This is like the opposite of what he believed, right? Doesn't make sense. Refused to bow down to idols, and now he is bowing down to some building that he built himself. Again, I do not believe this is built by Abraham, by the way, just to make it clear. But this is what Muslim believe. I'm just trying to show how Muslim beliefs Muslim belief is actually contradicting their own. A lot of them contradict each other. So now, circumcision. Abraham was circumcised. In Bible we can read from Genesis 17 verse 13. Whether born in your household or bought with your money, they must be circumcised. My covenant in your flesh is to be an everlasting covenant. This is Genesis chapter 17 verse 13. What about, so Abraham was also circumcised, right? I think hadith also mention it. I don't remember which hadith, but hadith mention it, that Abraham was circumcised when he was 80 years old. But the funniest thing is, Quran doesn't mention anything about circumcision. And if you read hadith, Muhammad and Sahaba were not actually circumcised. Nothing. Again, hadith is a book, or not a book, books where you can read which way Muhammad faced when he was pooping. But hadith doesn't mention this circumcision. That's weird, right? Because you would think circumcision is very important in Islam, should be mentioned in hadith. If not, Allah should mention it in Quran. But nothing. Muslim scholars have different opinions on this matter. Let me show you straight from islamka.com. Again, islamka.com is a Saudi based website. So the Sheikh who answer the questions from Saudi Arabia. Now, Ibn Qayyim mentioned three opinions concerning circumcision of the Prophet. Number one, that he was born circumcised. Wow. This against the logic in Islam. Not logic, but logic in Islam. Why? Because Islam teaches that when we die, we will all be naked and are uncircumcised. So if Muhammad was born circumcised, huh? So it means when after he died, he will grow something. I mean, like people who are circumcised, when they die, they will just go back to their original shape, right? Before they were circumcised. But Muhammad was born circumcised. So it means when after he died, he will grow something there, a little bit, right? Number two, Jibril circumcised him when he split open his chest. This is also from Hadith, but actually the Hadith doesn't mention anything about circumcision again. The Hadith only talking about Jibril came down from the roof, Muhammad was sleeping, and then Jibril just cut open his chest and washed his heart with Zamzam water. I believe this event was before he went to heaven or Isra Miraj on a Burak. When he went to Israel and then he went to heaven, Isra Miraj. This is what happened. Yeah. But this also, actually, the hadith doesn't talk about circumcision. Just splitting open the chest and then wash the heart. It's not circumcision. Right? So now, number three, that his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, circumcised him according to the Arab custom of circumcising their sons. The Arab custom. Before Muhammad became prophet, the Arabs were pagans. So his pagan grandfather circumcised him. Good, perfect. Right? How does it make sense? Okay. So, anyway, Abraham was circumcised. Hadith mentioned it. Muhammad and the Sahaba were not circumcised. 6 major hadith do not mention it. Not only Quran doesn't mention it, but nothing. 6 major hadith do not mention this thing. How is that following the religion of Abraham? They claim they follow the religion of Abraham, but how is that? Muhammad was not even circumcised. This is not circumcision. None of this circumcision. Right? Well, anyway, like everybody, the many prophets, they have quote unquote nicknames. Jesus, Kalimatullah, the word of Allah. Moses, right? Kalimullah, to whom Allah spoke to. Muhammad doesn't have the name. Ibrahim, friend of Allah. Right? Friend of Allah. I believe it's Khalilullah. So Kalimullah, Kalimatullah. What is the nickname for the prophet? Just prophet. Yeah, sometimes Allah called Muhammad prophet. Yeah, that is so weird. Anyway, that's all from me. Thank you for listening. For those who believe they follow the religion of Abraham, may God give you everlasting peace. For those who believe they follow God, may God give you everlasting peace. Have a nice life.